My name is Amanda and I'm the Fun Size Reader, and today I wanted to give you my top 5 romance picks for every romance that I read in 2021. Now, these romance picks are for strictly romance genre, not fantasy romance, not sci-fi, nothing, just romance itself as a whole. So any rom-coms, any serious romances, but if it was categorized as fantasy, because I read a lot of fantasy romance, that was in its own video. That's not included in these picks. I read 21 romances this year. That is almost half of everything that I read, but that's just like in adult romance. That's not in YA romance. Like that's only adult romances. So these top 5 romances actually come from my adult romance genre. Narrowing it down to 5 was hard. There were a lot of really good romance books that I read this year. A lot that came out this year and a lot that I just finally got to this year. I think all of the ones that I ended up, no, not all of the ones that I ended up picking came out this year, but 4 of them did. So it was a great year for romance books. And I feel like a great year for romance readers in general, because so many people like discovered reading romance again on Book Talk, on BookTube. I've seen so many more on Bookstagram. So like, this is awesome. It's one of my favorite genres to read. So I'm so glad there's more of you that love it. Without further ado, my number 5 choice for my top 5 romances that I read this year is The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. So I could not move forward without including one of Mariana Zapata's books on my top 5 list. And because I liked Winnipeg more than Rhodes, it had to be The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. So this was an amazing football romance, slow burn, which was just such a mood. And I did not want it to end despite it being so long. So I could not help but include this on my top 5. This was not a rom-com. This was not something that was laughy and funny. This was like a series, just like life in a book. And I loved that about it. So it was definitely had to be on my top 5 for this year. Coming in at number 4. So there was a like uptick in the number of romance books that were written this year that had science in them. And as somebody who spent 23 years of her life studying science, I freaking loved it. So I am like kind of partial to these STEM science, like medicine, rom-coms. I do like a lot of other kinds also, but like these ones hold a special place in my heart. So number 4, I picked Christina Lauren's The Soulmate Equation. And I loved this book because it had that little science element, but it was towing the line of what is science versus what is actually true love. And it was just so good. It was so good. It's probably one of my favorites that Christina Lauren has written. The one thing that I hated about this book was it's in hardback and it doesn't match any of my other Christina Lauren books. So I wish it was in paperback so all of them matched, because this does not fit on my romance shelf. It's the only hardback. It's awful. The book itself was amazing and I highly recommend it. It just makes you think about love and true love in a very different way. Coming in at number 3 is an author that I absolutely love. She's like one of my favorite people. I watch her stuff on TikTok. I laugh hysterically every time I see her. And I literally read her personality in her writing. Like she does such an amazing job of just putting her vibe in her characters, and I love her for it. So this is Life's Too Short by Abby Jimenez. And I loved this book because, one, it connected all of her other books, which I also absolutely loved, but I loved the like having some deeper emotional trial that's going on in this particular book. I think her name's Vanessa. Wow, I remembered a character name. Vanessa believes that she has this illness that is not going to cause her to live very long, so she doesn't want to fall in love. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to have a family because she doesn't want to take that away from somebody and have them lose her because she's experienced loss before. But she meets this man who basically needed that person in his life. And it's just so good. It's so good, you guys. Abby's amazing. And I really, really am so excited for her books that are coming out next year. Well, her book, Part of Your World, is coming soon. If you have not read Abby's books, drop what you're doing and go pick them up. Like, they're amazing. They're amazing. And this is one of them. Coming in at number 2 was a book that I just didn't want to end. I was like so rooting for these characters, and I read this when a friend of mine said, if you need something that is just mindless and entertaining and great, like, read this book. So that is It Happened One Summer, and she was 100% correct. It was everything that I needed. And it's just, I flew through it. I wish it was longer. Like, I wanted the characters around more. Like, I could not dislike a grumpy sunshine trope like this. Like, Tessa did such an amazing job with this trope. It's probably my favorite of her books. And Hook, Line, and Sinker, the next book about Piper's sister, comes out in a few months. So I will be pre-ordering that one as well, because if it's just as good as this, like, it's going to be a top contender for next year for sure. And last but not least, okay, this one was a debut. It was her very, very first book that was published. It was actually written as fan fiction, and I didn't know that until after I finished it and freaking loved it. But it's Star Wars fan fiction about Kylo Ren and Rey. So that is The Love Hypothesis. And I know there's a million of you that love this book also. It was huge on Book Talk. Tons of you have already loved my video on this, and I'm so glad, because I wanted people to love this book as much as I love this book. This is another one that I'm impartial to because I love science in books, and the fact that we had a grad student who was studying science, who is, you know, in school, but is a young woman and making strides in her career. Like, it resonates with people who are in science. So, or have pursued, you know, higher education, who can just relate to that. But even if you haven't, like, there's still things about this book that you can relate to also. I love the grumpy sunshine in this book. I love the fake dating. I love the, you know, misconceptions and bad communication. Like, the way it's done is just done so well. And I saw a TikTok where someone said that they wanted to hate this book when they first went into it because it was so popular. And the way she phrased it was, I would die for these characters. And I feel her. Like, that's how much you just love this book. And there are some people that haven't liked it, and I'm sorry about that. But for all of you that love it just as much as me, oh, right. All right, well, those were my top 5 of 2021. There were a lot of great romances. There were some other super high contenders that almost made it on the list, like People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which was one of Book of the Month's top 5 books that the readers voted on. Also, Only When It's Us by Chloe Leese. I really loved that book also, and I really want to read the rest of her Bergman Brothers series. So there was just so many good ones in romance this year. And I can't wait to start a whole new year of romance reads. So excited. If you'd like to support my channel, I will put the links for the books that I mentioned in this video down in the description below. If you'd like to chat more about books or other things, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at The Fun Size Reader. See you guys next time.